Hi, good evening. Welcome to the regular city meeting for the City Council for September 18th, 2023. Major Norris and Councilmember Gronwald will be unable to attend tonight's meeting. With that, we'll call tonight's meeting to order. And Councilmember Gardner has the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day and the beautiful weather that we've had as of late, and we're just thankful for the cooler air that we get to enjoy right now. God, thank you for the city of Maumelle that we get to live in, and we pray and ask for wisdom in all the things that we do and consider that it will benefit this community, God, and just keep it a great place for our residents to live and to enjoy. Thank you for all those that continue to serve our city every day, those that work City Hall and in all of our various departments, for all the things that they do for our city, Lord. And God, we want to ask a special prayer for Chief Pickard, God, as he struggles with his health right now. Father, we just ask that you will bless him and his family. And it's been so wonderful to see the community rally behind him. And we just ask for healing for his family, God, and for him specifically as he goes through his treatments, Lord. We know there's many other people in our community that are facing similar battles, and we just ask for healing and strength for all of them as they go through their individual battles with their health with God. Again, we are so thankful that you bless us each and every day, and we just ask that we can return that love to other folks and find those to serve in our community in any way possible. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Gardner. There are no special guests or announcements tonight. You've all received copies of the minutes. Any comments? If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And opposed? All right, motion passes. All right. We got that under our belt. All right, we have any public comments tonight? So without any ado, let's have the financial statement.
Hello, how are you? Well, you already have the package, and if you notice, it's the new presentation. And I opened the revenue as Mr. Mazzoni asked me for, so I opened the revenue. No, then I don't have everything in one line. So let's start for the presentation. The first page is the revenue. We don't see any major issue in the revenue. Actually, we are doing very well, and I think we will be according with budget. Actually, I think that we will be a little bit higher, and that's good for the city. I like to brag, right? But look at the interest revenue, because we have been doing very well, as I promised you. We are doing very good on interest revenue, okay? Let's go to the next page, and our next page is all the expenses. I'm just talking about here about Fund 101. Most of the expenses are below budget. This is very interesting because I thought that we were going to be catching up a little bit, but I think some of the expenses really are just the last months. I don't know the city, I'm getting to know, and until I get 1 year, I will be able to tell you more about that, but it's very interesting. Also, the other expense that is below budget is capital expenditures. And as I know the city now, it takes a little bit to get the approvals, to get the POs, so the money is not committed yet. I hope that from here to December, the different departments start committing the money in order we can have the money for next year and does not impact our budget of 2024 because we will be roll over the POs for 2023. In the next page, I'm just put a reference for the general fund balance. We are still in very good stage because the 20% that we need to have as a minimum balance is 3.4 million, and we do have 13.9 million. We are above $10 million. In the next page, you have your street funds. Here I have everything together, revenue, expenditures, everything. We have also a very nice profit for the year. It means that the revenue is higher than the expenses for $252,000. So we are doing very good in the budget. We have a fund balance of 4.8 million. And here also I think that they have to accelerate the capital expenditures to have the money saved for next year. In the next page is our sanitation fund. And I think I guess had explained you a little bit about this fund. I think that we need to make a study. As we have been passing the months, I think that the money that we collect, that we as a citizens pay, is low for this kind of business that we have here. But I just leave it to your consideration. We do have money to cover because we can make a transfer money from the operating expenses to this fund, and we cover. But I think that if it is a business, or if you want to treat it like that, this will not be a business. And we still have $1 million of funds. Then the last part is my finance highlights. And well, you know that we started a new software, payroll, but we still have many variances from last year's, from the different financial statements that has not been closed. Our senior accountant, Mary Nelson, that you already know her, she's been working very hard on reconciling that. And we talk about that. We really think we are going to catch up from here to December. We are going to be okay. But it's been a little challenge job. It's even some differences that we have with the auditors at this point. Talking about reporting for OpenGov, I have good news for you. I already opened the 2024 budget for the different departments. So we are in the first stage, that is where the different departments report their budget adjustments. In the next stage, we are going to sit with all of you. I don't know really how it goes, the major decision, but I will be ready for you. I wanted to open since September, 1st of September, in order they have time to analyze, to report what they have there, and to talk with me, right, and with my team, to see if they can have it ready, plan for the 30th of September. And then we have October to the review, to changes, November for the approval, and we are ready for the 1st of December. That is more or less how it goes, right? No rush. I don't like rush. My accounting team. Well, we are complete again. The new member was not able to assist today. His name is Cody Durham. He was working in the Parks Department as an assistant administrator. Young guy, personal trainer, probably he can train us in this team that we are sit all time. So we have Mary Nelson, senior accountant, Mary Green, accounts receivable collections, Cody Durham, accounts payable, and me, that I'm the one that challenged everybody. But I think that if you allow us to do what we know how to do and do it on time and right, we will not be rushing in this county anymore. I am here or I am not here. You know, so that's the good news for you. So audit 2021. The auditors have been reviewing the data provided by the former director of finance. Then we have some main things now. That is the support for the single audit. We have the obligation to issue a single audit because we had grants higher than $750,000 in 2021. So they are already starting working on that. And unfortunately, the data that was provided by our former director to the auditors was partially provided for the grants and some other little issues that we need to work on now. So we took over. Our senior accountant is working on that now. And that's what I wanted to tell you. Feel confident that we are going to be in the top of this. And she's working on the support that the auditors need to complete the audit. So I'm almost 90% confident that before December, we finish 2021 and we start 2022. So that's all what I have for today. And I don't know if you have any question or comment.
And Councilmember Mosley.
All right, thank you. Yeah, you touched on the 2021 audit. I did talk to the auditors today, and they did mention that they had provided another round of follow-up questions for the city, and I assume then Mary will be handling those or whatever. So we got those covered. Got to keep those guys
Yes, Mary Nelson is working on that.
busy, so yeah, thank you. And then they said the ACFR is still unbalanced, but he's been looking at it, and he thinks he's going to be able to figure it out. So he didn't want us to do anything drastic for at least another couple of weeks. So
Yes, and this is part of what I tell you when I say we took over, is you don't worry about nobody else. If we have to fix it, we are going to fix it. That's the only point.
okay,
Important. I mean,
all right, that's all I've got. Thank you.
well, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Unless there's any questions, I'd entertain a motion to accept the financials. So moved. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say yea.
Yes.
Opposed? All right. Accepted. Okay, there was no planning commission and at this point, except a motion for all ordinances and resolutions to be read by name, title only.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
And opposed? Motion passes. All right. For unfinished business, we have the second read of ordinance 1096, amending the annual business registration fees. And Clerk Timmons will give the reading.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1096, an ordinance to increase annual business registration fees and solicitor permit fees to designate a portion of the said fees to be paid to the Police and Fire Fund and for other purposes.
And Councilmember Tierney, this was your baby for. Any more inputs from last time?
Yeah, actually, I've got a couple things I'd like to talk about, but first, I'd like to invite City Treasurer and Clerk Timmons to see if she had any opinions on this, since this is something that will directly affect her department.
Yes, Councilmember Tierney. I do have some thoughts in regards to our business license, and specifically if we should increase their price. I'm not 100% in agreement with the numbers, but I do think we are past the time to think about these things. A couple of things I want us to consider as our industrial and our commercial businesses. I think that of course, we want to invite businesses to operate in Maumelle, but the services that we are providing to them in regards to police, in regards to sanitation, those sort of things, and the amount that we're charging them to do business in the city are out of balance. and I think that needs to be reviewed. I don't, however, necessarily agree with the increase in the home-based businesses. I think that there should be an increase. We haven't increased our permit fees since we became a city. And so I think that needs to be reviewed, but I would like to have some sort of formula in plan, and have it hard and fast, so that it's fair across the board, that we're not singling out any particular type of company, but we are severely not really doing our citizens a service by charging so little. At some point, it's going to become an issue, I believe, if we don't rectify this. If you guys take into consideration our permit fees that we did in permits and planning, that was a significant help. I don't remember what it was, but for the purposes of this conversation, let's say we were charging Entergy $10. Well, now we're charging Entergy several $100s, and they're more cognizant of how they do their business. They do it right. It's just not, it's more regulated. And I would like the opportunity to prepare a formula that we could possibly all agree on, that you guys could agree on specifically, that would be fair and just and keep us where we should be in regards to our business license. And one thing I want to point out, when we do our comparisons of other cities, most of the times that's apples and oranges, because there's 499 cities in Arkansas. None of them are the same. So there's a lot of variables that are not being considered, but because I am actually boots on the ground, I think there's some more tangible things that we should consider with these increases. But I 100% support the increase for the commercial and the industry.
All right, did you have any specific suggestions that you'd like to share at this time, or?
I don't, unfortunately. I need a little bit more time to prepare, but I can prepare something that is concise and simple. I don't want a complicated algorithm. You know, I work with all of the clerks, and so I just would like to get some feedback and just be able to bring back to the council a suggestion. But as it stands, I think the home-based businesses should at least be $50. They're currently $25. So, and it costs more than that to process the paperwork and the mailings and the communications and that sort of thing. So I don't think $50 is that much, annual to ask for.
Right, even at $50, I think it'll still cost more to have a permit to own a cat in Maumelle than it would to own a business in Maumelle.
Yes,
So-
sir, you are correct. But there's a lot of examples I would like to provide. I apologize for not having that tonight.
Right, yeah, it's one of those things before I even proposed this, I considered possibly trying to start a committee to go through and come up with a schedule and this and that, but it's one of those things where I didn't want to come up with something so complicated that all of a sudden now you're going to have to hire another person, and any gains are going to be lost by having to increase personnel to manage it and to administrate it. And so I was trying to come up with a compromise. I definitely would welcome any input you have. Does anybody else have any thoughts on the home-based business? I know I am reluctant to try to suggest reducing it because Councilmember Mosley and myself, we're both on the home base, and I'd be the last person to want to say I want to cut and what I'm going to have to pay. Because I think Mr. Mosley and I represent nearly 2% of the people who are actually paying a home-based business fee at this time. So obviously we don't have a lot of people reporting it. I know last meeting there were some discussions that, if we increase it, people aren't going to pay it. But we've only got like 122 people paying for a home-based business in Maumelle right now, period. And that's another reason why I was wanting, I know there's also some discussions about, let's put everything into the general fund and then we'll decide where it all goes. But, the general fund already 50% goes to the police and fire, so that's kind of more of a discussion of semantics. And to me, when you tell a home-based business or any kind of business that this is where half of this business license fee goes is to your police, is to your fire, I would think they'd be a lot more likely to be willing to pay it, going, this is my community fair share to pay for the services I'm getting, rather than, oh, well, it's this vague thing, it goes to the budget, and, we'll make sure it goes where it's supposed to be. So that was one of the main emphasis behind doing this split right up front and telling everybody, this is where half of your fee goes to, is to provide you with police and fire. So, pay your fair share, because, right now we've got the business are not paying their fair share for the services that they're getting, where we've been increasing everything else, but we're completely out of whack. I mean, we're decades behind on this, and lowest in the state. And like I say, it's crazy that it costs more to have a permit for a cat than to have a business.
Thank you, Councilmember Tierney and Clerk Timmons. Any other comments? And Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah. Congratulations on figuring that out there. I didn't do that when I was trying to do that. I wanted to check and see if the Chamber of Commerce would care to express an opinion or anything on all this, and see what they think.
Not that one. I think did everyone get the packet that I sent? And I do not want to by any means step on City Clerk Timmons' toes, but I was doing that same thing, is just kind of checking with the clerks on where we stood, and I agree that we are really far behind on our fees. I would ask that we not do it in such a huge increment. Maybe do it in gradual, even let them know we're going to be doing it gradually. The complaints I get right now are about the water bills, and so they're still paying double of that. So I would hate to hit them with 400% increase as well as double water bill. But I do agree that, and I can also share some of those different ways, which I'm sure you talk to the clerks all the time, and they do it based off of employees, they do it based off square foot. There's so many different formulas that you can use, but we need to find the one that works best and is easiest, I think, for the clerk's office. But I do agree that we are pretty far behind as well.
Yeah, I've got a couple more comments, I guess, if nobody else does. Yeah, right now I'm just not supporting a raise of income. I think it'd be great to just be able to say we're proud to be the most business-friendly community in Arkansas with little to no fees compared to other people, that we want you to come here to Maumelle and do your business. It seems like we got too many people settling in North Little Rock corridor and all that, and it would really be nice if we could encourage more people to come down here and just maybe wave that around as a banner. But and the home-based business, it's. I'm not going to vote for it, but I would be more tempted to if the home base was only increased to $30 or $35. I mean, 35 is actually a 20% increase. That's quite a bit. So, as she said, as the chamber lady said, I think gradual is better as opposed to hitting people with a big increase all at once. It was kind of like what happened when we did the dog ordinance. Some people got sticker shock, going, "Wait a minute, why is it so much more this year?" It might have been better to more gradual. I don't know, but. Those are my thoughts. That's all I've got tonight. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Shin.
One thing I think we need to consider is what a home-based business was even 10 years ago is not the same thing it is in 2023. I had a home-based business and I made $1,000 a month on the side, and I thought that was great. There are people who never leave their home now and make that much in a month. So we're not comparing the same thing that this was set up for when the city was founded, or even 10 years or 5 years ago. Since COVID, the whole thing has changed. When I was selling insurance, I had to go get a contract signed. And I said, well, I work from home, come by my house. And it was off of Arnold Palmer. And I expected to go in, and he might have a desk over in the corner. No, I walked in, and it was a 4-bedroom house with 3 offices in it and 4 employees. And that was his home-based business. They were produce brokers, and they were shipping fruit and vegetables all over the country out of this house. So I'm a little hesitant to defend the home-based business at this point in time and say we shouldn't do something. And I'm not saying it needs to be high, but I do think we need an increase, because what we're wanting to charge now, I paid 30 years ago in much smaller communities. We have one of 5 locations that paid less than $100 a year 30 years ago. So.
Thank you, Councilmember Shin. Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you, sir. Well, to your point, Councilmember Tierney, I'm also a home-based business, so maybe we're 3% of the registrations. I'm not sure how that works. And kind of to your point, I pay a home-based business license so that I can check email and talk on my phone. And so I'm kind of one of those that I'm paying a fee to do what most of the people are doing at their house anyway. That's a completely different scenario where you have employees coming into your house. I totally get your point there. So as this stands, I couldn't support it either, just because of the increase. I feel like we could certainly look at doing something over time, but I don't like legislating and just kind of pulling it all together and over the course of a couple of weeks, hammering something out and passing it. So I don't feel comfortable doing that. And so even if modifications were made to the various prices over, versus tonight and then the next meeting, I just still don't feel comfortable with this as it is. But I think we could definitely look at doing something and modernizing it to some degree. But then again, I look at Conway, and they don't charge anything for businesses, and their economy seems to be thriving pretty well. And we also talk about the A&P tax, which we do not have. But keep in mind, A&P taxes do not support. By state law, there are specific uses for A&P taxes, where it goes to the advertising and promotions of the community, parks and rec. It can't be spent on other city items. And so to say that we don't have an A&P tax is why we need to increase other revenue sources, it doesn't necessarily work that way, because A&P is very limited in the scope of what it can be used for. So I feel like we're kind of going into this trying to upgrade things, but we've not explored how we want to do it. And so that's why I can't support this at this point, but I completely would be open to looking at it somehow and seeing what changes we can make. But I also want to be business friendly. This is not a large revenue item. Even with the proposed increases, it does not increase the revenue in our city when you're looking at the whole scheme of things of what our entire budget is. So I don't necessarily want to see business fees be a revenue source for the city. I don't consider that to be a major ongoing revenue source. So those are just some thoughts that I had.
Thank you, Councilmember Gardner. And didn't see who was first. Councilmember Shin.
I really don't think Conway's a fair comparison. They own all their utilities. So they have other ways of drawing in fees from their community that we would never have. So I don't really feel it's a fair comparison.
They're separate entities, though. Fair point.
Yeah. Councilmember Tierney.
One of the things that we've been mentioned just tonight was that, just give the businesses, a great deal to be pro-business friendly, and, just take time to do it maybe later or do it at a slow pace. But the one thing I'm sure that most of the members of this council tonight, we've had meetings here in recent weeks with representatives from the fire department with new proposals for increases in wages that they need to do. Now, this is not going to generate a whole lot of monies. This is not going to be a problem solver, but this is, to start collecting more monies to put to the police and fire is going to contribute to that. And so I don't know that really we've got the right as a council to say, let's just give this one class of businesses, a great deal, because, we want to be friendly, but at the same time, we're not being friendly to our fire department, our police department, by reducing the revenues we have to pay them. Because we're going to be in meetings in a few weeks where we're going to be lamenting about how we don't have the money to do everything that we need to do. Where can we come up with it? Well, here's one area where obviously everybody agrees we're not collecting what we should collecting, and something does need to be done. I don't think we can give away the services like we are right now.
Thank you, Councilmember Tierney. Councilmember Mosley.
So Conway doesn't have any business fees at all? Is that right? Well, that's great. I think we ought to compete with them. So. City Clerk Timmons, I wanted to ask you, what is technically a home-based business? When somebody would come in and say, do I need to get a home-based business license? And you would say, what do you do out of your home? I mean, what is the defining difference between getting one or not? I mean, is a salesperson that gets up and before he leaves in the morning, he makes a couple of calls to line up appointments? Is that doing business out of your house? Does he need a home-based business? As I understood it, it would be yes, but I was going to ask you.
Well, I don't have that ordinance memorized, but most of the times when people come for a home-based business, it's because that they want to be legitimized, for lack of a better word, with the state. So, and for that particular example, I would say yes, I would get a business license from, a business permit is what we actually issue. So someone who is, if they're listing their residence as their location where they operate their business, they absolutely would want a home-based business permit if it's in the city limits.
Okay, and that would be a thing too, is that it's identified as the headquarters at the house?
Location, yes.
Okay, that's important. So, okay, thank you. That's all I've got, thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Mosley. Councilmember Holt.
I don't know how large our business is and home businesses at this point here in Maumelle. I believe that people who have their home business, they're doing it as a way of surviving. And right now we're hearing that people nationwide are struggling with the finances and with trying to survive economically. If there is something that requires a license or some kind of inspection or something that has a legal implication to it, that would, for me, perhaps open the door for them to understand the degree of what they do and how relevant it is to the people that they serve. But as a matter of principle, at this point in our economic times, I simply am unable to support it as a matter of conscience. We have every kind of inflation that you can think of, and to add this and put something on the shoulders of the people that do not have a job outside the home but are trying to make a living working through their home, I admire them greatly, and I think they should be afforded every opportunity to succeed that they can. And I just cannot, in clear conscience, place another burden on their shoulders. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Councilmember Holt. Councilmember Tierney.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've already made my comment.
Clerk Timmons.
And I agree with you, Councilmember Holt. So when you guys ask me my opinion is for not necessarily focusing on the home-based businesses. I'm not specifically pointing out any particular business, but there are businesses that I go to and I purchase commodities, and those commodities are increased in the price. So I'm not going after the mom and pop stores or going after any business for that reason, but I'm specifically big boxes who have increased their prices significantly just to make the numbers easy. If you're making tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars, I really don't think paying a $500 business license is going to break your bank, right? Industry and commercial, those are the particular businesses that I think we should, if you guys so choose, focus on being with the times. And if you all want, I'll be happy to put something together that's specific, but if this is not something that you guys are even willing to consider, because there's if you go across the road and you go into a convenience store and they have an ATM machine, well, North Little Rock says that's two separate businesses. You're doing banking and you're doing commercial. So it's just a matter of focus, right? And so it's just If you guys want some numbers, or if you want a plan, I can certainly do that, but I just don't want to do it in vain.
I'd
Thank you.
welcome seeing that myself.
Thank you, Mr. Timmons. And Councilmember Cheney?
I was just gonna say, I'd welcome seeing what Ms. Timmons would like to work up, since
I-
this affects her more than anybody else.
I certainly can have I can have an idea, and I agree with the chamber 100%. I don't think that this is something that we should say, okay, 2024, this is your new bill. Absolutely not. I think everyone needs the opportunity to be able to prepare, to properly budget. There's been a lot of turnovers in companies, so I don't think that's something that we would just, boom, put out there. But I do think that it's something that once again, that we're kind of behind the times. It's not a really income generator per se, but it is to help pay for the streets, help pay for the police and fire, you know, that go out and assist these businesses. It's just, we're not even breaking even at this point. So you guys let me know what you want to do. And I can bring something to the next meeting. We can discuss this at budget. But right now, I need some direction as to how you guys want to take it. I think you guys are kind of split.
Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, I just wanted to draw emphasis on a comment that Ms. Timmons just made, because I was gonna ask her a question to this effect, and she's already given the answer that we're not even breaking even at this point. So I just wanted to draw emphasis onto that statement there.
Hey, Councilmember Tierney, any other comments? This will be on third, oh. Councilmember Williams.
Okay, I've been sitting and listening to all of these very, very good opinions. I agree with Kelly. I don't, and I agree with Mr. Holt too. I mean, when we did the animal fees and licensing, it was a sticker shock to a lot of people, and a lot of people were not happy. A 400% increase is pretty excessive to me in my mind. I would like to see this tabled and see these discussions continue during budget sessions. And let's all look at it, get all of the information. I think we're trying to push it through too fast. I think that we need to kind of slow our roll a little bit, get more information, get better numbers, and then make an educated decision as a group. So that's really all I have to say. I've been listening to all of it. Everybody has a very good point. I agree with Mr. Mosley that, yes, I would like to compete with Conway too, but I just don't think we can. We're not at a point where we can just not charge people anything. I agree with home-based businesses staying very low. The big box stores and big industry, you need to pull your own weight. And if we have not raised these since, 1984 when we incorporated, then, it's high time. And I think people will understand that. I just don't want to hit them with a 400% increase all at once and get those emails and those phone calls. I'm just over the last ones. So that's all I have to say.
Did you make
Yeah, did you make a motion to table?
I make a motion to table.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any conversation?
I did have a comment though before we.
Oh,
No, that's fine.
Councilmember Garden.
I was just gonna say, I agree with what Councilmember Williams was saying. I think we all want to review this and have a chance to come up with something that's beneficial, for the city, so that we're not, I don't necessarily agree that we're losing money. I mean, I think the city, to some degree, is in the business of, government does things because we do things. And, there's certain things that shouldn't be revenue generators. But I would agree that we should look at this a little bit more closely, fine tune it, and not try to tweak it on the fly here over the next couple of weeks. And honestly, I think it'd have a lot better chance of going through if we were to do it that way.
Right.
So.
Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, those were all good comments. So, and I think that's probably what you've done is you've done a good job of making this something that needed to be talked about, which we've done by forcing the issue with an ordinance. And sometimes you have to do that. So I think that's the right way. And it does seem that there's some pretty big splits and there's some things that folks aren't comfortable with. So your efforts might be better to go ahead and table it and get with the city clerk and others that want to have input and try to make something that's a little bit more palatable and maybe not quite as big or whatever. But I'll have to warn you, I still won't vote for an increase. But anyway, I think that's better. Thank you.
Councilmember Williams.
Oh, no.
One for one. All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second motion to table this indefinitely and start discussion at budget time. All those approved, all those in favor?
Yes.
Say yes?
Yes.
Opposed?
Yes, no. Whichever way.
So we count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 to 1, so motion passes.
Councilmember Tierney, I'm sorry, you voted no?
Yeah, voted no to table.
Maybe, that didn't add up, I don't think.
It should be 6-2.
You got
6-2.
You can vote. Can he vote?
Actually, it would be 5-3.
I don't know.
Yeah, he can vote.
Okay.
Oh, you can vote? Okay.
I can vote.
Mayor Pro Tem, would you like me to do a roll call vote?
Please.
Councilmember Mosley? This,
I'm going to say yes.
this roll call vote is to table until budget time and discuss at that time. And you said yes, sir?
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Councilmember Tierney?
No.
Councilmember Shin?
Yes.
Councilmember Holt?
Yes.
He's Mayor Pro Tem.
You can still vote.
Yes. Motion passes. Next order of business is the second reading of ordinance 1097, amending the notification procedure. Clerk Timmons will give the reading.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1097, an ordinance amending the notification procedure for certain planning and permit applications and for other purposes.
And Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, again, I'll just summarize the good aspects of this thing. It's going to bring consistency in public hearing sign requirements. It's going to increase the authority of the planning director to determine where signs are placed and perhaps even expand that. He has the discretion to expand and do better. It shifts the responsibility of the applicant to place the signs, and it requires a public meeting for certain applications that have the potential to impact current and future owners in the area. So anyway, yes, I'd certainly appreciate a yes vote here in another week or two.
Thank you, Councilmember Mosley. Any other comments? This will be on the third reading at the next council meeting. That's all old business. There is no new business. And Major Norris is not here, so no mayor's comments. Any council member comments? Councilmember Mosley.
Sorry, I may be jeopardizing a record here, but
I think we passed that.
Councilmember Shin and I have been getting emails, I think, from people that are still upset there in the Ward 4 area about, was it fiber optic cable business digging up front yards and things like that. And I'm almost to the point of just making a motion to put a moratorium on all new equipment or upgrades on anything other than water sewer, electric, natural gas, just the necessities, just say, it's done. We're just causing too much damage. It's too rough on the residents, and just say, this is it, we're done. And I wanted to see if anybody else had an opinion on that. I'm tired of getting comments, and I get pictures, and it just almost looks like World War I with the trenches and stuff like that. So, and I'm saying that I'm not going to make that motion tonight, but I wanted the city attorney to kind of think about that and see if he thinks that's even a realm of a possibility as far as, but I think it's time to look after the residents and just, the easements appear to be filled up, and there's just too many problems with adding more. So I'll bring that up next week, but I'd be more than happy, I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks about that.
Thank you, Councilmember Mosley. Councilmember Holt?
I was invited, or allowed to attend, rather, the meeting, one of the major meetings for planning for the next year deal with the sun and the moon and all that recreation going on. So I made the suggestion to Courtney Dunn afterwards that perhaps the city council members individually, that all of us could participate in some way, volunteer to take part in it, because each of us have as much interest and at goal or at stake in this as anyone else does. So we could, whatever they would suggest that we could do that would be beneficial and help them out, it would be a great experience, and I would volunteer instantly. So I would hope that the other council members would do the same.
Thank you, Councilmember Holt. Councilmember Shin?
To come back to what Steve was talking about, that one neighborhood has been torn up for a year. There was a major electrical malfunction, and they had to come and dig up nearly a full block and replace the lines that ran through there for Entergy. And then the contractors didn't come back and finish filling the holes. And then they didn't come back and put in the grass. In another area, the gas company had to come through and replace an area. They did cover the holes, but they never came back and put down the grass. And I can't remember now, I think one of the other fiber companies has already been through that neighborhood, and now the second one is coming through. And things have been torn up because last Halloween, I was walking the block with Steve, the neighbor who sends us the emails, looking at all the torn up ground and bare dirt, and they've had this problem for a year, and it's at least 3 different contractors. I will say this, I still have water leaks in my yard. My next door neighbor, it flows down into the creek, and it's been reported. You can't even mow it part of his yard because of the water damage from when they did the work in our neighborhood 2 blocks away. The crews that are working now are actually, compared to everybody else that's been in our neighborhood over there, are doing a much better job. Now, it may not look like it should, but they're keeping it confined. They're not breaking the plumbing. My next door neighbor, I came home one day and the water line was broken and there was water everywhere. 24 hours later, I came home and the gas line was broken in his yard. So this is what happened in my block 2 years ago. This one neighborhood has been in an upheaval for 12 full months. And they still don't have grass. And we've addressed that in this meeting once, that we need, because the city can't run out there and throw grass down for them, but Entergy wasn't doing it, the gas company wasn't doing it, neither was AT&T. So I don't know what we need to do to address it, but it's been a 12-month long problem. And that's why they're so upset, and I can't blame them. But I have to say, the crew that's working now, I would defend compared to what came through my neighborhood 2 years ago. Anyway, if we can help that neighborhood get it put back together, it would be a wonderful thing.
All right, thank you. And did you just have your button pushed, or?
Well, at some point, I was going to ask Mr. Grummer if he had any input on all this, since that was something he was kind of trying to help get under control. But if he doesn't have any comments, it's fine.
Mr. Grummer, do you have any comments?
Scott Grummer, 550. Hello? There. I don't want to take up much of your time this evening, but if you want me to give a report at the next city council meeting, I can, more extensively as far as what we're doing and how we're managing that process. I agree, it's a challenge, and I get just as many calls as anybody trying to help manage this, and we've got a system together, but, you know, it's only as good as that system is managed as far as all of our workers that are doing it. So I will say the contractors are much better this go around. But the biggest problem we have is that it's hard to locate the utilities in the ground as it is because mainly the water lines, they don't know where they are without having to do major excavations. And the mayor has sent a message to the CEO of CAW to see if we can get more resources into the city to help locate those water lines to reduce the number of hits on those. As far as gas lines, Summit is putting more effort towards locating those lines, which is making it easier for the contractors coming in to find those so that those aren't hit. So there are some better there are some improvements being made, but it is kind of slow going. And the neighborhood that you're speaking of in Ward 4, it's one of the harder ones to dig in because of the age. So.
Thank you, Mr. Grummer.
Yeah, if you could, any kind of a little report or something, if you had something more to add next week, that'd be great. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. That's all I've got tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Mosley. I do have one addenda that we do have a $1.1 million grant coming from Metroplan for the construction of the Club Manor Corridor Improvements Project. So we just need to match $275,000. So this is definitely good news for us. I like to take credit, but I'm just a reader. Clerk Timmons.
If you guys want to go to the winter conference, let me know. Please send me an email. Registration has opened.
City Attorney comments. Like it. City Clerk's comments.
No, sir.
And with that, Jess, if there's any questions, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I make a motion that we adjourn the city council member of September the 18th, 2023.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Done.